So here we go, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Meet the Oppo, the series where I get the lowdown on Town's next opponent, and it's Cambridge United up next in League One at the Abbey. Looking forward to this one as always. A little trip up the A14. I'm joined by good old Jordan from Under the Abbey Stand podcast. Always a pleasure, my friend. How's things?
Thanks for having me on, Roscoe. I like that you still call it the Abbey and not the Shabby. Our little rundown ground that obviously you're getting less of this Saturday coming. Things are all right, personally at least. Then in the football world, could be better. Was it 14 defeats in the last 20? You know, I've had better seasons as a Cambridge fan, but no, still good. Feeling a little bit more optimistic after the movings in the window so far, and yeah, Mark Bonner said recently that it's now a 20-game season, so we've got to take that kind of mentality and say, actually, do you know what? Half the season left, or just under. We've got to give it our all.
Yeah, definitely, my friend. Yeah, not a good position at the moment. 23rd in League One. Last time we faced was back in October, a 3-0 win for Town at Pawn Road. But you guys were 10th, and I put you down as my dark horses at the season preview we did. And some people are now laughing at me. But I just thought, you had a great season last year. I thought that will continue. But let's recap then, Jordan, from the last time we played. And you made that stat there, not many great wins in the last 20 games. Not been scoring many goals, not been able to, maybe it's just not been able to go on a winning run, which has probably been, every team needs that winning run, and sadly Cambridge haven't had that. But yeah, recap the last few months.
Yeah, it's interesting you say 10th when we played each other last. There was a point, I think, in sort of August, September, where we went top very briefly during one of our games. We took a lead at Portsmouth and went top of the table very briefly. Essentially, the last sort of 4 months have been pretty dire. I think sort of 2/3 of our points came from sort of just before October. We started the season fairly well. I think we won sort of 4 or 5 on the trot at home. We're doing all right away from home, and yeah, went top very briefly. Was in the top 6 for a little bit. Was 10th, like you say, when we played each other. But yeah, the last 4 months, last 20 games has been really, really tough. Probably the toughest period in the sort of 2.5-3 years that Bonner has been with the club. Some people like to make a theory that it all kind of started to go a little bit wrong after the approach for Bonner from Rotherham. He spoke to them. Word on the street is they couldn't agree terms. They wouldn't let him sign his own backroom staff and things like that. So the move didn't happen. I think in reality, though, that's probably masking kind of where our difficulties have come this season. I think there were signs before the Rotherham approach that, we weren't that top 10, top 6 club that we would love to be. I think the biggest problem that we've faced over the last sort of few months is twofold. I think firstly is the team have been asked to play in a slightly different way this season to sort of counter the fact that, it's our second season in the league and people know a bit more about us. And in playing in a slightly different way, although we haven't changed the shape dramatically, but asking players to do a slightly different role, in doing that, we haven't been getting the performance levels that we've been getting for the players over the last 2 seasons. There's players in the team that I feel could comfortably make a career at this level, or maybe even higher in a couple of instances. But there are a few others in the team that I don't think are naturally League One talent. And so for them to survive in this division, they have to sort of play beyond themselves and get a really consistent high level of performance. And we just haven't been having that this season. And I think that's kind of where we've sort of come undone. We've lost a lot of games by a 1-goal margin. I hate to use the cliche fine lines, but it does feel like that sort of dip in performance has sort of resulted in just sort of not quite being good enough to sort of get the points. And then the second thing that I think that the club has been struggling with over the last few months is, well, a simplistic answer would be to say our injury list. And whilst injuries have definitely had a major impact on the squad, our two first choice centre backs, our goalkeeper, 3 left backs, our main creative midfielder are all out. I think the biggest issue is the club really struggled in the summer with their recruitment. We started the season missing a couple of players that I thought we would have signed. One of them being a sort of a ball-playing central midfielder. So when Adam May did his ACL at the start of the season, we were always going to struggle because we didn't have a natural replacement. So yeah, a tough few months. Sort of the injuries, the performance levels, the lack of options in the squad have all sort of added up, and we've been competitive in some games, but other games we've just been very, very far off the mark. And until recently, it has sort of, brought a bit of a sort of an atmosphere into the sort of the fan base of sort of questioning what we're going to do. Do you stick with Bonner or not? We've had a good window. We've signed some good players. So hopefully that could be a platform for us to sort of kick on and try and pick up a few more points in the second half of the season.
Yeah, indeed. Sort of the next question was the current mood, but I can guess it's not so great. But second half of the season, yeah.
It's an interesting one, the mood, isn't it? Because if I said to you, we've lost 14 games out of 20, at any club, that manager's lost their job, right? I mean, yeah. I don't think there's an Ipswich manager that would have survived that. And yeah, it's all because of the credit that Mark Bonner has in the bank, getting us up when no one expected us to, keeping us up when no one expected us to. What I would say the general mood across the club is, or the fan base at least, is that the credit is basically run dry now. People want him to succeed. People want him to turn it around because of everything that he's done so far for us. But I think we've got the majority of the fans in a position now where previously they would never have questioned whether or not Bonner's the right man for the job. Whereas now, I think if we don't see much of an improvement over February or March, I think the club will have a real decision on their hands about whether they keep him to the end of the season or not, or even give him the chance to rebuild next season. And whether that rebuild is this division or the division below, that's to be seen. But yeah, I think the fan base is still supportive of him, but definitely in a position where he's no longer the sort of untouchable, unquestionable leader.
Yeah, indeed. You've seen managers getting sacked recently, like Kolo Touré, 9 games at Wigan without a win, he's gone. So yeah, I think, as you said, some managers they got a bit of credit in the bank, but it sounds like Mark Bonner has run dry of that. Let's talk then about the team as a whole. The last 11 against Lincoln, of course, a goalless draw at Sincil Bank. You've made some signings in this window. 2 experienced signings. Maybe is that sort of players you needed just to some experience to try to keep you up? Of course, it will be a sort of fighting the standard division. Ryan Bennett and Michael Morrison. Michael Morrison, he's been around the block, of course. How would you sort of round up the transfer window and the last 11? Will we see a similar 11 against Town?
Yeah, looking at the 11 on screen, I think we'll see the exact same 11. I was quite surprised with that 11 going to Lincoln because it's a very sort of defensive 8 and then 2 up top. And I thought, given Lincoln's current form, we might try and play a little bit more. One of those 8 would have been more of a creative midfielder. But that lineup, that defensive block of 8, definitely will start against Ipswich at home next on Saturday, because I think the aim will be to sort of just try and condense and stay in the game. As for the players that have come in, yeah, like you say, Bennett has come in. It was a free transfer. It's confusing, actually. We've got 2 Bennetts in our defence. Got a Bennett at centre back and a Bennett at right wing back. The right wing back was a young lad who we had out on loan at Walsall, but was having a great half of the season. So we brought him back, and with his return, we've actually changed the shape slightly, and we now play. We've been playing the last couple of games as a 3-5-2, whereas normally we've sort of played 4-5-1. The new Bennett and Morrison who've come in this window, yet to answer your question, Roscoe, yeah, definitely what we needed. Firstly, in terms of experience, we were making sort of mistakes or conceding soft goals. So hopefully a sort of wiser heads in there will also see us shore up a little bit. Got our first clean sheet away from home this season on Saturday, so an early sign that it could be a positive sort of move. But the other thing they bring as well is leadership. Like, both of them appear to be sort of leaders, talkers, and And I was sort of saying earlier that we've sort of been lacking that sort of performance level on the pitch. And I wonder if having more sort of leaders on the pitch will help sort of gear those levels back up, which is what we need, because, you know, the majority of this squad needs to sort of, you know, go beyond itself a little bit to sort of be above that sort of bottom 6, bottom 8 in League One.
Definitely, my friend. Well, let's talk about the game then. Last time we were at the Abbey, 2-2 draw, 2-0 up, Town cruising, and then yeah, some goals. Of course, Joe and started scoring a late goal. I'm sure this is going to be a very different game. Going to be a great atmosphere, I'm sure. Again, a little bit chillier this time around. I think last time it was a nice warm day. The sun was shining. But what sort of game can we expect? And as you said, you've changed a little bit in terms of your style of play. But what do you reckon then?
Yeah, I mean, I'd snap your hand off for a draw before we even kick off. I think, yeah, I think it will be similar to when you played at the Abbey before, which would be, and even when we played at Portman Road earlier in the season, I think it will be a lot of standing off, letting Ipswich try and have as much of the ball and just sort of try and condense it, keep it slow, try and frustrate as best as possible. You guys will probably remember that the pitch is quite narrow at the Abbey, so that 5 in defence will certainly sort of certainly look to sort of keep things really, really tight. What I think we'll need to sort of look at is sort of kind of pace around the back three. So Bennett, Morrison, and Jones, big guys, good central defenders, but with the exception of Jones, the others aren't particularly pacey. When we played at Lincoln on Saturday, Lincoln just, you know, were playing long balls. We were sort of playing the long diagonal, so it was easy for those 3 to sort of mop it up. I think Ipswich will be a lot more mobile, a lot more smarter with the ball at their feet. So I imagine they'll be sort of trying to play the channels or play wide and try and sort of target those centre backs sort of one-on-one. So where we've probably been seeing the wing backs push on the last couple of games for us, I reckon they'll be a lot more conservative and will probably limit how far or how often they push forward, because they'll be wary of that sort of Ipswich attack. So yeah, that's how I see the game playing out. I imagine Ipswich fans listening to this are wincing because they remember the you know, all games that we've played each other this season and last season. They've not been pleasing on the eye. Certainly we would set out to frustrate and just try and cling on into the game as best we can. And, you know, I think back to the Portman Road game at the start of the season, 3-0 perhaps doesn't tell the full story, does it? You know, Ipswich had the ball pretty much all game, but it took until the 70th minute, I think, to break us down. So I imagine the team on Saturday for us will take sort of some spirit from that, and yeah, it'll be a similar affair. So maybe not one that Ipswich fans will enjoy, but tense and tight, I'm imagining, for long periods.
Indeed. I've just remembered we played in the Pat Johns Trophy, didn't we? We lost, and we had a player sent off, which he shouldn't have been sent off, but we won't get into that. But yeah, I completely forgot about that, because we have been to the Abbey already this season, of course, under the lights. But this will be a very big game. No, that doesn't count. No one cares about the Pizza Cup. Both out of it, so it doesn't matter. We're not going to Wembley. Yeah, whatever. Or maybe the playoffs.
Maybe the playoffs, yeah.
We'll see. But my friend, it's been a pleasure. How are you feeling though going into this one? You know, with your current run of form. You know, of course, you know, I know this is news you had, you know, months ago, but it's great that Cambridge have got the Abbey, you know, you own it again. I know you've had some issues with stuff like that, but we won't get into that. But yeah, how are you feeling ahead of this one?
I feel better, you know, based on the fact that, you know, we got that draw at the weekend. We kept a clean sheet at the weekend, you know, considering that our previous 2 away games before that, we conceded 5 goals in both of them. So feeling a tiny bit better, feeling a little bit more confident with the players that we've had come in. I look at the remaining 19 games that we've got, and I think about 6 of them are against teams that are in the promotion pack. And that starts on Saturday against yourselves, and then we go to Barnsley the following week. So the next 2 games, obviously, for us are going to be really, really tough. So feel like if we can get out of either of those with anything, it'd be a real plus. And in many ways, our season and kind of starts thereafter. But I feel a bit bad saying that, because, you know, given the position that we're in and the points that we have on the board, the whole idea of having sort of a free hit has kind of gone now, and actually it makes going into Saturday a little bit more tense, because there is, we have to look at every game now and try and find a way to get something if we want to stay in the league. So whereas in previous years or previous occasions, it's like, oh, we're playing Ipswich, we take what we can get, they're a great team, got the investment, and they're playing nice football. If we get beat, we get beat, never mind. Whereas going into Saturday, it's a little bit more like, well, it's a home game. We got a point against them at home last season. We need the points. Going to be looking at it more with that kind of sort of anxiety of getting something from it. No more free hits between now and the end of the season. So I'm not looking forward to Saturday. I think it'll be a tense one.
Indeed, my friend. Indeed. Well, bring it on. Hope you enjoy. If you're going, if you're not, follow the game with us. Jordan, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye-bye for now.